Christmas. Santa, magic. It's such a wonderful time of year. That is, until it isn't. Let's face it, moms, being the keeper of childhood Christmas magic is a lot. It's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of tantrums from the kids and from us. And it's a lot of obligations that we don't necessarily know how to say no to.
I just like to smile. Smiling my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite. Okay. Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
Time for an announcement. Okay, people, tomorrow morning, it is Santa's only Santa.
Oh my God!
So the thought of doing the whole charade over again this year can send a lot of us hiding under our blankets. I'm here to say fuck it to that. I love Christmas and have found ways to continue loving it as a single mom of 4. In this holiday series, I'll be joined by guests and experts who will share how they find balance through the holidays so they don't turn into the Grinch on the street. It can be the most wonderful time of the year for moms too. The secret? Learning when to say fuck it. Welcome everyone to this episode of Merry Fuck It Christmas. I am your host, Amanda Haro, and I have another awesome guest, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hey, Amanda and everybody. I'm Anna Charles, and I'm a coach who helps people, wonderful people, to stop over drinking.
Which is so fabulous because it's not that you're like a sobriety coach. You're just like, let's get in control of your drinking so that you feel like you're actually in control and you're not just like stuck in this habit.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I have clients who want to go all the way and they don't want to drink at all, which is totally fine. But others who just want to drink a little bit less, or maybe only on the weekends, and the whole thing really is controlling that we are the ones in control. The alcohol does not have the power. I know there are other solutions out there that suggest that. I do not subscribe to that. And it's about us making a decision in advance and then being able to follow through and have it so that it's where we want it to be. Because if we feel in control of it, then it's the difference, I always say, between having a good time and then having a drink, or having a drink to have a good time. They are very, very different things.
Yes, those are two very different things. So I'd like to start with talking about just like some of your family traditions, like your relationship with the holiday season in general, and especially as a mom who is now an empty nester. So you have the perspective of being able to like look back. You're not in the thick of it, in the trenches of the mom stress, and then we can swing into how to feel in control of our drinking during the holiday season, because it's definitely a time that's, more stressful in general, especially for moms. And, there's mom wine memes all over the place for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. So Christmas, British, so we talk about Christmas and holidays, is a really, really special time. It's probably one of my favorite times of the year, and we have all sorts of traditions. We have 3 children. As you say, they're all grown up now. Gosh, makes me feel so old. They're in their late to early 20s. But the really cute thing is they have partners, they have girlfriends and things, but they have 3 sons. They still want to come home for Christmas.
Aww.
Which I find amazing. Yeah, it's really lovely. And this one, my eldest this year, he's like, "Oh, I haven't got much time off work. How am I going? But I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it, Mum. I'm going to come back." So, so Christmas Day is our big thing, but on Christmas Eve, actually, this is something I read about 15 years ago, and it was when the children obviously were a lot younger, that have a tradition to buy pajamas on Christmas Eve. So we have a Christmas Eve present, and it's kind of a surprise, but it's always pajamas. And the idea is because you don't buy pajamas at any other time in the year. Well, we didn't used to. So now we all have our pajamas, and then we'll watch a Christmas film, and that's kind of Christmas Eve. And these days we go out. They always want to go out for a drink, in control. But we do the pajamas thing. And then the next day, we do all the presents around the tree, and we have a Christmas lunch, and then you tend to go for a walk. And it's all very... It's very chilled, actually. We don't tend to pile a lot of stuff on. We don't tend to do the big thing where we have the aunts and uncles and everything. We never have really done that. But
yeah, and that in and of itself takes so much stress off the plate, because I live in a different state than my family, and it's just not really an option for me to go back home with my kids because of how my divorce is written up, to be very blunt, which is fine. But, you know, not having that obligation on me anymore, it's been very nice. Like that has been nice, because my parents also were divorced. So as a kid, I always had, like, you know, the two sides to go to. And it can be quite a lot to pile all of the, I wanted to say external family. That's not the right word. All of the extra family members.
You use the word obligation. I think that's a really important one, especially when you get into the era I work in, because whenever we feel obliged, it's kind of, ugh. And then we have all the resentment, and then you're trying to make everybody else happy.
Yes, while you're resenting the shit out of them.
Yes, I'm doing, and this is my time too. You know, this I'm meant to be. So one of the reasons for that is, for years now, I have not cooked. I love cooking, but I have not cooked the Christmas lunch for about 20 years, because
Good
it's
for
like,
you.
yeah, it's like we're all gonna not do stuff that day, right? All of us, and
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yes, I love that so much. It's totally okay for you to not cook. Like, you don't have to become some master chef for the holidays and be a slave in your kitchen. If you enjoy doing that, then that's totally different. But if you don't enjoy it and it's like a stress for you,
Yeah,
fuck it to that. That should be your
exactly,
first fuck it over the holidays.
exactly,
Because it's
because it
so
all
easy to
piles
just
up.
order your food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's a
Yeah.
different thing. And it's like, this can be my treat, and we're going to do, and then that becomes, you see, that becomes a new tradition. That becomes a tradition where you have the day off.
Yes, yeah, because it should, like, that's the whole point of this podcast series, is that it should be the happiest time of the year for the entire family, like not just the kids, for the mom too, because usually it's not. It's like mom is getting 3 hours of sleep every night and doing all of the things and just being really stressed and waiting for it to be over.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we've got all of the jobs that we do, and then we have all of these jobs that we're going to do on top because it's fun. And we might even want to
I'm
do
sorry,
them.
hang on. The school is calling me. Hello? I'm so sorry. It wasn't
That's
an
okay.
emergency, but you never know unless you answer the phone.
No, that's totally fine.
My God, it's my daughter's, so it's birthday season in my house. They're all, their birthdays are October 8th through December 1st. All four of them, just like back to back during this crazy time of year. My third child turned 10 yesterday, and I made cupcakes. And I actually stayed up super late last night finishing the cupcakes because my other daughter needed to talk to me about something like serious at 10:20, and we were talking until like 11:45. And then I still went downstairs to finish the fucking cupcakes, and the teacher just called saying, "So sorry, we can't serve homemade treats because there's too many allergies in the class." And I'm like,
Are you kidding me?
I got 5 hours of sleep because of those cupcakes, and I can't eat them because I have a dairy allergy, and I used milk in them because I didn't want to waste their chocolate chip cookie. It's like a chocolate chip. It's a chocolate chip cookie in a cupcake form. So the chocolate chips are milk chocolate chips because my chocolate chips cost more. So she's going to bring all those home, and I can't even eat them, but
How
my
many
kids can
did
eat
you
them.
make?
24. 24. It's fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. I should have asked the teacher about allergies before I
I
baked
tell
the
you,
fucking
that is
cupcakes.
something that we never had when ours were little. Let it go.
Yep, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Take a photo of them, and then
They are the ugliest cupcakes I've ever made, Anna, because they're like, I used a new recipe, and the frosting had brown sugar and like more chocolate chips in it. But the chocolate chips, I couldn't like pipe it into like a nice thing because the chocolate chips were so like chunky in the bag. They weren't coming out. They are literally the ugliest fucking cupcakes I've ever. I'm so
you've
mad.
got
I
to
want to
take
throw them away.
photos, and you have a whole story about them.
I want to throw them away, run them over with my car. I'm going to throw them in the street and then run them over. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Do you remember what you're talking about?
We're talking about taking on too much stuff, something like that.
This is a good example of that. Damn it. yeah, but she was so excited to take the cupcakes in, and I wanted to finish it, trying to like be there for all of the children, at the same time. And that's a lot. It's a lot when you have multiple children and they'll need you at the same time.
Yes. You will get through it.
I know.
And this too shall pass.
Yes. Everything will pass. Okay. So I've watched, I watch a lot of British TV for some reason. I'm weird, but so they always have a scene. If it's like a Christmas thing, they always have a scene where everyone has like these weird, like paper crown things and cracker poppers. Is that actually a tradition, or is that just something that they put into movies?
Yeah. So I sort of skated over that. When you have your Christmas lunch, you have crackers. So you have these things. I don't know. You pull them, pop.
Yeah, like a
and
confetti
you get
popper
a little
thing.
gift. And there are different levels. They will show you on the back. You can have really tacky plastic ones all the way through. In fact, a good friend of mine, she has this very tasteful ring that is huge. Obviously, it's not worth anything. But yes, you have those, and then you have the party hats, the crowns that you put on. Yes, and there's a joke in there as well.
That's
and
so fun.
Sometimes a charade or something, and everybody wears them, and then they always break.
Yes.
And then
That's fabulous. I love that that's actually a thing. Do you know where it came from? Like why it's a tradition?
No idea. Maybe something I'm going to guess something to do with the three. I don't know, the kings. I don't know. Queen Victoria, she introduced a lot of parlor game type stuff. So I actually don't know. I could do a little research and get back to you. But it is a thing.
I could also do a Google deep dive. I just love knowing like the history and the background and stuff of things.
Yeah, it is a thing. We have loads and loads and loads and loads of crackers. And our family, we also have them. If we have them left over, we'll have them on New Year's Day as well. Yeah.
That's so much fun. I love that. So what was your experience as a mom with like young children at home over the holidays?
So I think it was always a case of you were always almost waiting for when was one of the meltdowns going to happen, and then being ready to go. So we have this really cute video from my middle son was always very happy-go-lucky. I think as the middle child, he was always looking ahead, sort of learning from what to do and what not to do from his older brother, and then counseling his younger brother as to what to do. And we have this video, we're all around the tree, and we have this thing where one present at a time. So child A open, and then we all have to watch child A open, because we don't sort of do this mad dash thing. Anyway, and this child, he wanted this, and we said, no, it's such and such's turn. And he went into a massive sulk. And there we had some curtains, and he's standing behind the curtains. Basically, and this me saying, right, you're not going to have any presents until you come out with a smiley face. And then he's really, really sulking. And then you can see him you can see the temper reduce and see him soften and soften and soften and then come round. So I think we're always looking out for that. Obviously making sure there's always a lot of chocolate, so they're going to explode over that. And then just trying to have something to do. Of course, then there's also when they're young, the toy to make. And that was always my husband's department. You'd have some massive thing that you had to put together.
They had to assemble. Yeah.
That was never my department. So he would do that. And I think there was always this sense of when you get to a certain point, okay, it's adult time now. And
yeah. Christmas Day is very stimulating with all of like you wake up early after being up late. And did you guys do the Santa thing?
What's the Santa thing?
Well, like, did you do Santa? Did your kids like believe in Santa? And,
like Father Christmas would come. He would come, and because he would put stockings on the beds. That's the other thing. Of course, you have to. The children would all wake up with stockings on the beds. I forgot that one as well. Actually.
On the bed, okay.
On the bed, yeah. Has to be a woolen stocking. So it's a tradition on the bed. So of course they have to be asleep.
Yes, exactly. So and they're all excited, so they don't go to sleep very early Christmas Eve. So you're up late waiting for the fuckers to go to sleep so that you can play Santa. And then they wake up super early every time. They always wake up super early on Christmas Day because they're so excited.
I remember our youngest once, it was 3 o'clock in the morning at the top of the stairs. All this wrapping paper. And we're like, no, I think it's time to go back to bed now. 3 o'clock.
No,
Just
thank
they're
you.
so excited because it's all these little
Yes.
things. Because in our stockings, you just get like the little toys, obviously the things. Yes. Yeah, and then and then it would be, in the morning, and we would have this thing. It would often be some champagne for us, for the adults, for breakfast, and that would be another, trend all the way through. There's this undercurrent of wine throughout the day, and yeah, but actually, I will say, Amanda, looking back, and people say that it goes so quickly. It truly, truly goes so quickly. I would actually love to have one of those days back of when they were little and enjoying it. I mean, they're lovely now, but it's different. It's a different lovely.
Yes. Yes, I know. And I pride myself on like fully enjoying like whatever season my kids are in currently,
Yeah.
while also very much welcoming like the next season. I
Yes.
really am not one of those moms who's just like, oh, you're getting so big. I just want you to be little again. I would fucking cry if they were little again. I would like, no, absolutely not. I enjoyed them as much as I could during that phase. I like looking back at pictures, never going back. Never would want to go back. I really enjoy my 14-year-old. She's fantastic. I'm loving this new phase that we're going into where she's like, a teenager, like a little mini adult, like it's so fun. I love it.
And in my opinion, that just continues. And when they're like they are now, it's huge fun when they go off on their travels and they call us and they want to see us. And and you do see elements of you in them, which is kind of a bit freaky. And you can see how they mellow, and it's fun. It's much more fun, in my opinion, now they're older than ever. When they
Yes,
were little.
100%. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not the type of mom that's like holding on to the baby clothes. I got rid of that shit with a smile on my face. I was like, I'm done. Very minor, brief moment where I was like a little bit sad when I was like, okay, like seriously, this is my last baby. And like, we're getting rid of I'm packing up the baby stuff. But it was more so just because like I was on such a fucking schedule of like every 2 years popping out another kid. So it was more so just like this cognitive dissonance with like recognizing that I'm in a new season and I'm like, I'm not pregnant again. I will never be pregnant again. And it was like the sadness was more just like letting go of that season because I was so used to it. It was so hard.
Yeah.
It was so, so hard, but it was still all that I knew for that 8-year period,
Yeah.
Like, oh wait, 6-year period. My oldest was 6 when Ozzy was born.
Yeah. Because we had our first two, and then it was like, we're done with this. Done with it. We actually gave all of our baby stuff to the neighbors because they were expecting.
And then did you knock on their door and be like, actually, I need that back?
So we had the lovely, lovely surprise. But yes, yeah, and but I'm very happy to not. I wouldn't ever want to go back there. No,
No, not at all.
quite happy.
No. Oh my goodness. So let's talk more about, my voice just cracked because apparently I'm in puberty again. Let's talk more about I guess, like the importance of talking about drinking less in general, but especially around the holidays. Because I think some people would just be like, why are we even talking about this?
Yeah, and the way I always start with is there is no right answer, in my opinion. Right? If somebody
Mhm.
wants to explore this, whatever that means for them, and to accept that there are so many judgments out there. I mean, what I typically find, if people say they want to even raise the question of how much they're drinking, you will tend to hear two responses. right? Which is the first, which is if you have any kind of problem, you've got to go to AA and stop right now. Or stop making such a fuss. You don't drink very much and it's the holidays, right? Live a little. I mean, you only live once. I mean, all these things. And I think it's just one of the things I say to people is that expect all of that. And you are not 14 anymore. Just remember that, right? When we're 14, we care your daughter, I guess, we care what other people think of us, and we've got to have the right clothes. And we're not 14 anymore. We can decide. It's totally fine to decide. So kind of let other people do their thing. But I think what happens at the holidays is this cauldron of, we've got to have a good time, and this is about having a good time, and we feel so entitled to have a good time.
Yes, that's such a good point. Like the pressure of having to have a good time through the whole season.
We are having a good time, aren't we? We are, even when we're not.
Yes.
And then we're always preparing. And as the mum, you're often preparing all the stuff for people to have a good time. And that pressure is immense. And then what happens is if we do not feel like we're having a good time, or we are, then we have that's why we would then have a drink to relax ourselves and do all the rest of it. Then we feel terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Then we feel terrible because it's like, well, I'm failing, this isn't happening, and a lot of it comes down to just not putting ourselves first. I think if my greatest gift that people can give themselves, the listeners, is put yourself first.
Yes.
And if we were to do that, then I think a lot of this sort of this pressure and this desire and this angst and it just goes away.
Yeah. And you start to feel a lot better too. And that's like my whole, the bones of my whole messaging is just like when a mom prioritizes herself, she's happier, she's less stressed, and she's a better mom. Yeah. All of these things happen when you just prioritize yourself. But it's so complicated and convoluted because women are socialized to people please. And also, like you were talking about, like not wanting to be the person at the party being like, no, I'm not gonna drink tonight, and having that peer pressure. And like, yes, we're not 14 anymore, but we are, like, we still have that evolutionary biology that's deep inside our brains. That's like, we can't be out of the tribe. We can't be out of the tribe or we're going to die. But we don't realize that that's what's happening in our brains. We just feel the stress of, what is everyone going to think?
Well, and they make it very clear as well, not maybe what they're thinking, but they're quite happy to say, well, why? So what?
I know, people are so nosy.
It's like, really? So when did this start? So what, and why is it? And what is, and they won't let it go. And the thing I always say to people is, if you are on the receiving end of this overt curiosity, rather than think, my gosh, they're judging me, I'm in the spotlight, is to think they are so curious as to how you are doing this because they desperately want the same thing.
Yes, they're curious. And also, you do not owe them an answer at all. Just because someone asks you a question does not mean that you owe them an answer. Right. You could just say, I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm just not drinking. Cheers.
And some people will say, well, you're much more, you're more boring when you're not drinking. So, well, you're more boring when I'm not drinking, but I'm still not gonna I'm not gonna change. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So what was the journey like for you, making that making these choices for yourself? Like, what led you to that?
What led me to it was, it was nothing. There's no rock bottom. There was no, I've desperately got some. No, it was actually it was rather moderate, I think, how much I was drinking, but it was just, I wasn't getting what I wanted out of life. It was becoming more and more this block. And it's like, I'm not enjoying this. I became quite belligerent when I would have a drink, and I didn't like that. And also, I think the other thing is, I really view myself as being very capable. Right, I was in corporate for many years. I can do lots of stuff. I've written a novel, and I've run teams, and I've had a fam. The whole thing. And I can't say I'm going to have a glass of wine and leave it at that. Right? This does not compute. Or I can't say I'm not going to have anything. And then, because I'd be changing my mind at 6 o'clock. Go on, just the one, just the one, just the one. And so it became this matter of, I just want to fix this. I don't like the fact that I can't understand this, that I do find it very difficult. And I was sort of at the fringes of coaching at that time, and I started to apply it to drinking. And yeah, lo and behold, it does work. And we probably talk on your podcast a lot about how we're approaching the world, how we're thinking about it, and it works.
Yeah.
And so well that I barely to never drink. I mean, I really don't even really enjoy it these much. And that was such a revelation. I said, I'm just going to throw the corporate job in and become the coach. So I was my first client, and I know how wonderful it feels to have that sense of freedom and that sense of control over something that you thought you just really had no control over, and you didn't understand why, which was the key thing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I realized earlier this year, it was like around May when I made this choice, I had realized that I'd gotten into a habit of having a nightcap of whiskey, and then it turned into like every night. And I wasn't getting drunk every single night. It literally was just like a nightcap of whiskey. But I was like, do I like this habit? Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And so for the month of May, I was just like, no hard alcohol this month. And in giving up my nightcap of whiskey, I wasn't really like craving alcohol in general. So it almost turned into a sobriety month for me. Not completely. I had a beer every once in a while, but I was really like, it was just very curious to me as I was like observing myself. I was like, oh, since I gave up this habit, I'm just not drinking in general at all.
Yeah.
And it was just really interesting. But it felt really good to just make that choice, because I noticed that I had gotten into that habit, and I wasn't really sure like if I wanted to keep it or why I was doing it, or, and so it just felt good to notice that and then do something about it, just to have that control of my own life.
And when we talk about mindful drinking, I mean, for me, that's what that is. I say there's no problem having a drink or two, just like your reasons, right? So if you are having a drink on a Friday because you always have, I mean, if you like that reason, fine. A lot of people don't want that reason. So find one that does. And then it feels very different, because you can actually appreciate what you are doing, right? We're talking about the holiday. I mean, you can really go towards it rather than, I don't even know what I'm doing. I mean, that's what we get to. I don't even know. I mean, people, they just, when I say, so when do you have your first drink? I have no idea. How did you feel? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. All I know is it was too much, and then I hated myself. And it's like, okay. And then you start to bring the awareness in, and then you get to make the choice. And if you want the choice to have it, fine. But you're making that as a very conscious choice. And that drinking intentionally feels so different to, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to hope for the best. And it just, that doesn't work.
Right. Right. Yes. No, it feels so much better to make the choice on purpose.
Yeah.
And, I definitely still drink. I'm not wanting to give it up entirely. And plus in Wisconsin, drinking is definitely, we're heavy drinkers over here. I blame the winters because it's just like the way to get through the winters. So, I do enjoy like going over to my best friend's house and having some cocktails because it's fun, but I know why I'm doing it, and I like my reasons, and I know when to stop too. I'm not the type of person where like I can get peer pressured into drinking more. I've never been that type of person. And so I feel in control of my drinking at this point in time, and it feels good, instead of, because there have been times previously where it just kind of became a habit, and, life was particularly stressful. And I was reaching for that as like, as an aid. And then it's just like, I don't like this. I don't like that I'm depending on it.
Exactly. The people I work with, because if somebody has a physical dependency where they need alcohol to get through the day, I mean, that is doctor territory. I will always do an assessment. I do not, it's just dangerous to just stop drinking. But the habit thing, it really, and when we talk about habit, this is so interesting about, I've got a drinking habit. You think, oh, that's a terrible thing. We have all sorts of habits. Habits are wonderful things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Habits guide our lives. We know that's what the brain likes to do. We
Mhm.
just have a judgment that this is a habit that we don't like because we don't want it anymore. Okay, well, we can swap it out. And the cool thing is that when we do make those changes, the new habit, the low drinking habit, becomes the new thing. We just need to know that because of the dopamine and the fact that the brain is going to want that because of the reward of how we feel when we drink, we just need to be super intentional about it.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
super,
And
super
just
intentional.
understand how your brain works.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. I love
Exactly.
it so much. Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us about all of this. I absolutely adore you and all the work that you do. And so I like to end each guest episode with a round of lightning questions. So are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Wow.
Okay.
You
What
didn't tell
was
me about this.
Oh, but then it's not a surprise. I don't want you guys to be prepared. I don't want you to have to prepare lightning
Go on then.
question answers. That's not fun. So what was your favorite holiday tradition growing up?
The having the stocking, the woolen stocking on the end of the bed. To this day, if I hear the sound of wool and wrapping paper, that rustle, that makes me feel I'm in Christmas.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
What's your favorite holiday treat?
Oh, I really like Christmas cake. It's a traditional recipe that we have. There's a woman called Delia Smith. I've made her Christmas cake for years. So that for me is a treat. Having a slice of Christmas cake is lovely.
So what kind of a cake is it?
Oh, sorry, it's like a fruit cake with marzipan, and then we have icing on the top. But you soak all the fruit for months, and it's delicious. It's very
Okay,
moist and delicious.
nice. What's your favorite holiday movie?
Oh, well, I have two. Does that count? Christmas Eve, we always see Love Actually. My
I love
husband
that
thinks it's,
movie.
oh, I love it. I
I
love it.
love that movie.
And then I like this is a really terrible one. Christmas with the Cranks. Have
Yeah.
you seen that?
Yes, it's funny.
Love Christmas with the Cranks. So yeah,
I
those are
love
my
that.
two.
So are you pro Christmas cards or no Christmas cards? Because Christmas cards are like they're pretty like hot or cold. Like people either like, oh, I have to do Christmas cards, or they're like, I fucking hate that. It stresses me out.
I love Christmas cards, and I will tell you, I'll own up. I have a sheet. I have a Christmas cards list where we have who we sent and who we received. And if we don't receive a card from someone about 2 or 3 years running, they don't get a card from us. And if they send us one, they're back on
You
the list.
admitted that. I love that.
And this, I have, Amanda, I have this going back years. An Excel sheet.
Funny. When you die and your kids find that, they're going to laugh so hard. They're going to be like, oh, mom. That's so funny. Oh my God. Okay. This question I have stolen from the Low Life podcast because it's too good not to steal. If your belly button was an actual button, what would it do?
Oh my gosh. It would take me to any point in time that I wanted to go to. Be like
It
a
would be a
time machine.
TARDIS.
Yeah. So if I
Love
wanted to
it.
go back to whenever, the ancient Egyptians, that's how I would get there.
I love that so much. And finally, what's one holiday obligation you'd like to say fuck it to, or that you've already said fuck it to?
Oh. Well, probably actually the having to cook lunch, right? Because
right.
when I was young, my mum would always cook, and they spend hours cooking the lunch, and I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't
I love
do
it. I love that you said fuck it to that because so many women hold on to it and then they're like really resentful and like they bitch and like they're passive aggressive to their family about how like you don't ever help me and I have to do it all myself. But they're still doing it.
It's actually really nice to not do it. I mean, it's just fun for everybody. I mean, it really is
Right.
fun. And because you don't have the, oh, it's not as special as when, well, no, that's what we're doing. We're doing something totally different on this day.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Thank you so much. Let people know where they can connect with you if they'd like to know more.
So probably the best way is my website, which is 90dayslater.co. And I'm on Instagram also at 90dayslater.co.
Beautiful. And I will link all of that in the show notes. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Amanda. And I hope everybody has a really wonderful, relaxed Christmas.
Yes, joyful for you too, Christmas.